Where's my dad's truck, Madison?
Gone. I sold it.
Where's my dad's truck, Madison? My wife didn't even look up from her wine. She was sitting at the kitchen island in a cream silk blouse I had never seen before, scrolling through her phone like I had asked where she put the mail. Gone, she said. For a second, I thought I had misheard her. I stood in the doorway with motor oil still under my fingernails, my work boots leaving dust on the tile, my keys biting into my palm. Behind Madison, through the big kitchen window, the driveway sat empty. Not just empty. Wrong. My father's 1972 Ford F-100 had been parked there every evening since the day we brought it home from his funeral. Blue paint faded at the hood. Chrome pitted around the headlights. A cracked leather bench seat that still smelled faintly of tobacco, dust, and the pine air freshener Dad used to hang from the mirror. It wasn't pretty. But it was his. What do you mean, gone? I asked. Madison took a slow sip of wine. I sold it. The kitchen went quiet in a way that made the refrigerator hum sound loud. You sold my father's truck? She finally looked up. Her expression was not guilty. Not nervous. Just annoyed. I sold an ugly rust bucket that made our house look like a salvage yard. That truck wasn't yours. Our driveway is mine too, Ethan. My jaw tightened. Who bought it? A collector. What collector? She set her glass down and smiled. Small. Controlled. Mean. Brent handled it. That name landed harder than the missing truck. Brent Calloway. The real estate guy Madison had started mentioning too often. The man with fake white teeth, lakefront condo renderings, and a watch he made sure everyone noticed. The man who laughed at my garage hands during a dinner party and called restoration work blue-collar nostalgia. I looked at Madison's phone. Then at the new white purse on the counter, gold clasp still wrapped in tissue. Then back at the empty driveway. Brent Calloway sold my dad's truck? He found a buyer, she said. He understands value. My hand started shaking, so I set my keys on the counter before I threw them through the backsplash. How much? 18,000. I laughed once. It came out dry. You sold the numbers matching 1972 F-100 for 18 grand? Madison rolled her eyes. Don't start acting like some auction expert because your father kept receipts in a glove box. I stopped breathing for half a second. What did you say? She waved a hand like the subject bored her. Oh, relax. I found your little envelope. For Ethan, when the truck leaves this family. Very dramatic. Everything in me went still. Dad had left that envelope in the locked file cabinet at the garage. I knew because I had put it there myself the week after his funeral. I had never opened it. Not because I forgot. Because I knew what it was. A letter. A trust copy. And whatever else he wanted me to see only if I ever had to let the truck go. Where is it? I asked. Madison's eyes flicked to the purse. In my bag. Put it on the table. No, Madison. She pulled the purse closer. It was in our house. It was addressed to me. It was about a truck sitting in my driveway. I reached for the purse. She snatched it back. Touch my bag and I call the police. I stared at her. Cold. Still. Call them. Her thumb hovered over her screen. Tell them you sold trust property without authorization. I said. Tell them Brent took possession of a vehicle he had no legal title to. Tell them you opened a sealed document addressed to me and hid it. For the first time that night, something moved behind her face. Not fear exactly. Calculation. What trust? She asked. I nodded toward the purse. The one you should have read before you got greedy. She swallowed, then covered it with a laugh. You're bluffing. Maybe. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Sam Whitaker. Dad's old attorney. Madison saw the name on the screen and her smile thinned. I answered and put it on speaker. Sam's voice came through calm and tired, like he had been expecting this call for years. Ethan, don't let her spend $1 from that sale. If the truck left without trustee consent, we have a civil claim by morning. Madison whispered. You called a lawyer? I picked up my keys again. My knuckles were white. No, Madison. You called him the second you stole from a dead man. She lunged across the island and slapped the phone out of my hand. It hit the tile and skidded under a barstool. For 1 second, either of us moved. Then Sam's voice came through the cracked speaker. Ethan? Ethan, are you there? Madison's lips parted. He heard that? I bent down, picked up the phone, and held it where she could see the cracked screen. The call was still live. Every word. Sam said. Say nothing else you don't want repeated. Photograph the driveway, the purse, any documents she refuses to return, and any communication from Brent. Do not touch her phone. Do not block her exit. Let her make choices. Madison gave a sharp laugh. Too sharp. You don't get to weaponize lawyers against your wife. No, I said. You don't get to use being my wife as cover for theft. She flinched at that word. The purse buzzed. Not my phone. Hers. Brent's name flashed across the screen before she flipped it face down. I looked at it. Answer him. No, then I will. Touch my phone and I'll tell the cops you got violent. I lifted both hands and stepped back. Good. Call them. I'll ask for a report number for the stolen trust property. Her breathing turned quick. She grabbed her phone and hissed, Brent, not now. His voice was loud enough for me to hear. Did he find the envelope? Madison froze. I looked at the purse. So Brent knew about it. She walked toward the hallway. I followed at 10 feet, phone camera recording the floor, the island, the purse, never her body too close, exactly like Sam had taught me during my father's probate mess. Stay away from me. She snapped. I am. Keep talking. She lowered her voice. You said there was nothing enforceable in it. Brent snapped. Because you said the title was in his name. I said, it isn't. The silence on the line felt like someone cutting a wire. Then Brent said, Madison, hang up. I stepped closer to the kitchen island, not to her. No, Brent. Stay on. Sam loves recorded admissions. Madison ended the call and pointed at me. You set me up. You sold the truck. You hid the envelope. You called Brent. I'm just standing here. He is not my boyfriend. Her voice cracked on boyfriend. My eyes dropped to her left hand. No ring. Where's your wedding band? I asked. She closed her fist. Being resized. At 9:40 at night? Her face reddened. Then she shoved the purse against my chest. Take your stupid envelope. I caught it with both hands. They trembled once, then held. The seal was torn. Inside was Dad's folded note, a copy of the Walker Family Restoration Trust, and an old photograph of him leaning against the F-100 in front of the original garage, back when the paint was still sky blue and his beard was still black. I didn't read the note. Not yet. Some things deserved more than a kitchen fight. I put everything on the counter and took pictures. Madison grabbed her keys. I'm leaving. In the Lexus paid from the joint account? She stopped. I said, take an Uber. I'm freezing outgoing transfers before you reach the highway. Madison turned slowly. You can't freeze anything without my consent. I picked up the cracked phone and called the bank's fraud line. Joint checking ending in 4419, I said when the representative answered. Suspicious transfers. Put a temporary hold on outgoing wires and external payments while counsel reviews unauthorized activity. Madison rushed back into the kitchen. Ethan, don't you dare. Too late. The rep asked for recent transactions. I opened the app and read them aloud. 12,000 to Callaway Lakeside Holdings. 9,500. 6,000. Another 15 marked consulting. Madison grabbed my wrist. Those were investments. I pulled free. With marital money. Without disclosure. Brent gave me paperwork. Send it. No, then I subpoena it. Her face tightened. I opened the desktop email app on the family computer. Madison had forwarded herself something earlier that week and never logged out. There it was. Subject line, spousal acknowledgement urgent. I clicked it. My name sat at the bottom of the form in a signature that was supposed to look like mine. It didn't. My father had taught me to sign my name with a hard break between Ethan and Walker. Whoever forged it made it smooth. I turned the screen toward her. My signature on a consent form I never signed. She went. Still. That's not what you think. It's a forged spousal acknowledgement. Brent said it was standard. Brent let you commit fraud in writing. Her phone buzzed again. She looked down, panicked. I read the preview before she turned it. Brent, delete everything. Madison whispered. This is your fault. I held up the torn envelope. No. This is what happens when greed meets paperwork. Then she did the first thing that truly scared me. She grabbed the printed consent form, turned toward the sink, and held it over the basin. Maybe this disappears. I raised my phone. Already copied. She flicked on the faucet anyway and shoved the paper under the water. Ink bled down the drain. Then copy this, she snapped. I watched the fake signature dissolve into gray streaks. Good, I said. Destruction of evidence plays better than denial. She threw the wet paper at my chest. You think some small-town lawyer scares me? Brent knows real attorneys. Then call one. I will. And I'll tell them you trapped me, recorded me, and cut me off financially. I haven't cut you off. I opened my banking app and turned the screen toward her. I separated my paycheck at 6:12 this morning after Sam flagged the trust language. Her smile vanished. You moved money? My wages. Not marital savings. Clean, documented, legal. You planned this. No. I listened when Dad told me that people don't show you who they are when life is easy. She stared at me. That is pathetic. No, I said. Pathetic is selling a dead man's truck to impress a man who won't answer your calls by morning. She grabbed her purse. I'll take half the garage. The garage is owned by Walker Restoration LLC. So? Dad set it up before we married. I'm an employee with voting control. Her eyes narrowed. You hid assets from me? No. You married a man and never read what he owned. For a moment, she looked as if she wanted to scream. Then she did something smarter. She stopped. She breathed. And she smiled. You know what, Ethan? Fine. Call your lawyer. Freeze your accounts. Record your little videos. She picked up her phone and tapped fast. I have the bill of sale. I have a buyer. I have proof the truck left voluntarily. My stomach tightened. What proof? Her smile got wider. Your verbal consent. I blinked. She turned the phone toward me. There was an email from Brent to the buyer. Seller's spouse has verbally agreed to removal. Title paperwork to follow. Attached was a short voice clip. My voice. Or almost my voice. A chopped piece from a conversation months earlier, when I told Madison that one day I might have to let Dad's truck go if restoration costs got too high. One day. Maybe. Not tonight. Not for Brent. Not for $18,000. Madison watched my face and saw the first crack. There it is, she whispered. That look. I said nothing. She leaned closer. You thought you had me buried under paperwork. But Brent said possession matters. The buyer has the truck. The money has moved. And you admitted you were willing to sell it. I heard Sam's voice in my cracked phone. Ethan, do not respond. Send me that email now. But my hand was suddenly cold. Because for the first time all night, Madison looked like she might actually win. She lifted her purse and walked toward the door. You can keep your envelope, she said. I'll keep my future. Then she left. The house was silent after the Lexus pulled out. I stood in the kitchen with water dripping from the ruined paper onto the tile and Dad's unopened letter on the counter. For 15 minutes I didn't move. I had imagined anger. I had imagined betrayal. I had not imagined hearing my own voice used to erase the one thing my father had asked me to protect. Sam stayed on the line. Finally, he said, "Ethan. I heard you. No. Listen to me. A doctored clip is not consent. But if the truck is already transferred across state lines, recovering it gets harder. We need the buyer before Brent cleans this up." "How?" "Your father kept records in ways most people don't anymore. Look at the photo." I looked down at the old picture from the envelope. Dad leaning against the F-100. Smiling. One hand on the hood. The other holding a ring of keys. On the back, in his handwriting, he had written, "If it ever leaves, check the glove box first." My throat tightened. The truck was gone. The glove box was gone. With it. But Dad had never trusted a single hiding place. I drove to the garage at midnight. The building smelled like metal shavings, rubber, and old coffee. Dad's workbench still had the burn mark from the soldering iron he dropped in 1998. I opened the bottom drawer, the one that stuck unless you lifted it at the left corner, and found the duplicate logbook wrapped in a shop rag. Inside were maintenance records, title copies, trust references, and one page labeled simply, "If someone tries to sell her." Her. Dad had always called the truck her. Under that heading, he had written the names of 3 collectors he trusted and 3 he did not. Brent Calloway was not on either list. But the buyer was. Harlan Pruitt. Collector. Honest if cornered. Loves paperwork. Hates scandal. I almost laughed. Dad knew everyone. At 12:43 a.m., Sam called Harlan. I stood beside the old office printer while it coughed out trust documents. Harlan answered on the 4th ring, annoyed until Sam said the words, "Unauthorized trust transfer." Then he got quiet. "I bought that truck from Calloway's associate," Harlan said. "Cashier's check cleared. I was told the family wanted it gone." "They lied?" I said. Harlan paused. "You Ethan Walker?" "Yes. Your dad rebuilt the carburetor on my Chevelle in 2006. Wouldn't take full payment because he said I was overpaying for bad work someone else did." I closed my eyes. "That sounds like him." Harlan sighed. "I haven't titled it yet. It's in my enclosed trailer. But Calloway told me to move it to Kentucky before sunrise." Sam looked at me. There it was. The rush. The cleanup. I asked, "Did he say why?" Harlan said, "He said the husband was getting emotional and might make trouble." "Do you still have that message?" Sam asked. "Text and voicemail." Sam's face changed. Not a smile. Something colder. "Mr. Pruitt, preserve everything. Do not move that truck. If you cooperate, Ethan is willing to resolve this cleanly. If you don't, I file before breakfast and name every party in possession." Harlan grunted. "I don't need a dead man's son thinking I stole from him. I'll park it until you get here." After the call ended, I opened Dad's letter. His handwriting was slanted and uneven near the end. He must have written it when the cancer had already started taking strength from his hand. "Ethan, if you're reading this, the truck is leaving the family or someone tried to take it. Don't let grief make you stupid, and don't let anger make you sloppy. That truck is not worth your soul. But it is worth defending if someone treats your memories like trash. Your mother hated the old girl until the day she realized I drove you home from the hospital in it. You cried the whole way, and I drove 15 miles under the limit because I was afraid of every pothole in the county. If you sell it one day, sell it with a clear heart. If someone steals it, make them learn the difference." I sat in his office chair until the sun came up. At 7:18 a.m., Madison called. I let it ring twice. Then I answered. Her voice was bright. Too bright. "Are we done being dramatic?" "No," she exhaled. "Ethan, I don't want this to get ugly." "It already is." Brent talked to his attorney. The buyer has possession. The clip proves you were open to selling. If you push this, you're going to embarrass yourself. I looked across the garage at Sam, who was scanning Harlan's voicemail into an evidence folder. Madison, I said, did Brent tell you Harlan still has the truck? Silence. What? Did he tell you he ordered Harlan to move it before sunrise? Her breathing changed. Who told you that? The buyer. She whispered something away from the phone. Then I heard Brent in the background. Hang up, I said. Morning, Brent. Madison snapped. You called the buyer? No. Dad did 15 years ago. I just followed the paper trail. Brent came on the line. You have no case. Then you won't mind Sam filing the preservation notice. This is a family issue. Not after your LLC touched the sale money. Madison said. What does he mean, Brent? Brent didn't answer her. I opened the bank app. Callaway Lakeside Holdings received multiple transfers from our joint account. One of them used a forged spousal acknowledgement. Another came from the truck's sale. And you texted my wife to delete everything. Brent's voice dropped. Careful, Walker. You first. Madison whispered. Brent, you said the consent form was just a formality. It was, he snapped. You said Ethan wouldn't fight over a truck. Because you said he was weak. That one landed. Even through the phone, I heard Madison stop breathing. I did not say anything. I let Brent fill the silence. And for the record, he continued colder now, you handled the signature. You handled the envelope. You handled the sale from the house. Don't drag me into your marriage because your husband finally grew a spine. There it was. The second betrayal. Madison's voice came out thin. You told me we were doing this together. Brent laughed once. No, Madison. You told yourself that. Then the line went dead. Sam looked up from his laptop. Was that recorded? I held up my phone. Every word. By 9:03 a.m., Madison was standing outside Callaway Lakeside Holdings in heels, sunglasses, and panic, hammering on a locked glass door. I knew because Sam and I pulled into the lot just as she ripped half of a printed notice off the window. Account freeze pending review. A receptionist inside refused to open the door. Madison turned and saw my old shop truck roll into the lot with Sam in the passenger seat. Her face changed from anger to fear, then back to anger because fear made her feel poor. You came to enjoy this? She snapped. Sam stepped out first and handed her a packet. Temporary restraining order on marital asset transfers. Preservation demand on communications, records, and funds related to the F-100 sale and Callaway Lakeside Holdings. Madison looked at the papers like they were written in another language. You froze my life. I looked at Brent's dark office behind her. No, Madison. I froze the money. Brent ran with the rest. Her phone rang. Patricia. Her mother. Madison answered fast. Mom, not now. Patricia's voice cut through the speaker. Did you use my roof money for Brent? Madison turned away from us. I was going to pay you back. With what? His locked LLC? Mom, don't mom me. Your sister just sent me screenshots. Madison looked over her shoulder at me. I didn't send anything, I said. Her phone buzzed again. Ashley. Then her broker. Then the condo title officer. She answered the title officer with fake calm. Tell me we're still closing, the officer said. We can't proceed. Your funds are under review, and your spousal consent form has been challenged. Madison snapped. My husband is bitter, the officer replied. Your husband has counsel. Then a tow truck turned into the lot. On the flatbed was my father's F-100. For the first time since I came home the night before, I felt my chest loosen. The truck looked smaller up there than it did in my memory. Older. More fragile. A thing made of steel and time. Madison stared at it. You found it? Sam said. The buyer cooperated after seeing the trust claim and hearing Mr. Callaway's voicemail. Madison took a step toward the flatbed. I can fix this. I'll sign whatever. I moved between her and the truck. You don't touch it. Her face twisted. It's a truck, Ethan. No, I said. It was the last place my father still got to sit without anyone asking him to leave. That shut her up. The tow driver lowered the ramp. The old suspension creaked as the F-100 rolled back onto asphalt. He handed me the keys. The keychain was still the same scratched brass tag from Dad's garage. Walker Restoration. EST 1989. My thumb ran over the worn letters. Madison reached for them like muscle memory. I closed my fist. You wanted a bigger life, Madison. Turns out you couldn't even afford the lies. Her sunglasses slipped down her nose. The woman who had sold my father's truck for a condo deposit stood in a parking lot with no condo, no Brent, and no control. But the story did not end there. Because people like Madison do not fall once and stay down. They grab whatever is closest and call it survival. 3 days later, her attorney sent a letter claiming I had emotionally coerced her, financially isolated her, and used my father's trust to punish her for a failing marriage. Sam read the letter in his office and made a sound that was almost a laugh. She's trying to turn theft into abuse. I stared at the last paragraph. Madison demanded half of Walker Restoration LLC, half the value of the F-100, release of all claims against Brent, and immediate access to all joint funds. She wants the truck value? I asked. She wants leverage. Can she get it? Sam leaned back. That depends on whether the judge believes this was a messy marital sale or a coordinated fraud. I did not like that answer. For the next 2 weeks, Madison played victim better than she had ever played wife. She told her mother I had humiliated her publicly. She told Ashley I had always cared more about dead men and old metal than our marriage. She told mutual friends that Brent was just a business contact, and I had invented an affair because I was insecure. Some people believed her. That was the part nobody warns you about. Evidence does not stop gossip. It only survives longer. At the first mediation session, Madison walked in wearing no jewelry, no sunglasses, and the kind of soft gray sweater people wear when they want to look harmless. Her attorney opened with sympathy. This marriage had a communication breakdown. Madison made a poor financial decision under pressure from a third party. She is willing to waive any future claim related to the vehicle if Mr. Walker releases all claims tied to Callaway Lakeside Holdings. Sam didn't touch the paper. No. Madison's eyes flashed. It was one mistake. I opened my folder. The room went quiet. I laid out the bank hold notice. The forged consent copy. The trust demand. The deleted message recovery log. Harlan Pruitt's statement. Brent's voicemail telling him to move the truck before sunrise. And the recording where Brent said Madison handled the signature. Madison's attorney looked at her. You didn't tell me about the voicemail. Madison said nothing. Sam slid our offer across the table. Madison repays $73,400 to the marital estate, covers $18,000 in legal and recovery fees, waives any claim to Walker Restoration LLC, waives any claim to the F-100 or proceeds tied to it, and signs a no-contact agreement regarding Ethan, the garage, and the truck. Madison whispered. That leaves me with nothing. I looked at her for a long time. No, I said. That leaves you with what you didn't steal. Her attorney read the offer again. Then he leaned toward her and spoke. Quietly, but not quietly enough. If this goes in front of a judge with the forged signature and the destroyed document, you may lose more than money. Madison's face went pale. For the first time, she looked not angry, not superior, not wounded. Just small. She picked up the pen. Her hand shook so hard the tip tapped the paper. Before she signed, she looked at me. Ethan. I waited. I thought you would just let it go. That was the most honest thing she had said in years. I nodded once. I know. She signed. I signed after her. Sam took the papers, stood, and said, We're done. Outside, the sky had turned the color of old steel. Madison followed me to the parking lot. For once, she did not yell. Ethan, please. I unlocked the F-100. The driver's door gave its familiar groan. The bench seat was cracked under my palm. In the glove box, Harlan had left the Pine air freshener exactly where he found it. Madison stood a few feet away. I don't know who I am without all this, she said. I looked at her through the open door. For a moment, I remembered the woman I married. Not the one in the kitchen with wine and Brent's name on her phone. The one who once sat beside me in this same truck while Dad drove us to the county fair because my old car wouldn't start. That memory hurt. But pain is not permission. You should have thought about that before you sold who I was. I got in and shut the door. The engine turned over on the second try. Rough. Stubborn. Alive. In the rearview mirror, Madison stood alone in the lot, getting smaller as I pulled away. I drove back to the garage, parked the F-100 in Dad's old bay, and finally put his letter in the glove box where it belonged. Then I locked the door. Not because I was afraid someone would take the truck again. Because some things are not kept safe by locks. They are kept safe by learning who never deserved a key.